The Vrax Imperium's massive mothership appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. Its dark hull blocked the sun, casting shadows over major cities. People around the world looked up in fear and wonder. Ambassador Kim stood on the landing platform at the United Nations headquarters in New York. His heart raced, but his face showed calm. 20 years in diplomatic service had prepared him for many things, but not for real aliens. The shuttle descended from the mothership, landing with a soft hiss. Guards stood at attention as the door slowly opened. Ambassador Kim straightened his tie and stepped forward. What emerged made him stop in his tracks. The Vrax stood over 8 feet tall, with bodies like armored praying mantises. Their green exoskeletons gleamed under Earth's sun. 4 arms moved in careful precision as they surveyed the humans before them. Admiral Ta, leader of the Vrax delegation, stepped forward. His large compound eyes scanned the human delegation with cold efficiency. "Humans," he rumbled, mandibles clicking rhythmically. "Your species has been assessed and found wanting. You will surrender your planetary resources and accept protection under our benevolent rule." Kim had expected many things: greetings, exchanges of knowledge, even cautious discussions. Not this, not an immediate demand for surrender. "Admiral Tay," Kim replied, voice steady despite his shock. "On behalf of Earth, I welcome you to our world. However, Earth respectfully declines your offer. We offer friendship instead." The alien's mandibles clicked faster, a sign of irritation. Kim guessed. "Friendship." Admiral Tay's voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "The Vrax Imperium does not seek friends. We seek resources and order. You have 3 Earth days to reconsider." Without further discussion, the Vrax delegation returned to their shuttle. As they departed, Kim's assistant whispered, "What now, sir?" "Now we prepare," Kim answered, watching the shuttle rise. "And we hope they're bluffing." But the Vrax were not bluffing. 3 days later, as the deadline passed without Earth's surrender, the Mars colony erupted in flames. The research stations, the mining operations, the biodomes, all destroyed in minutes by precision strikes from Vrax warships. 12,000 colonists perished, men, women, children, the first human casualties in an interstellar war. The Vrax called it a minor demonstration in their communication to Earth. Emergency broadcasts showed the destruction. Families wept for loved ones lost on the Red Planet. Fear gripped Earth, but something else rose alongside it: anger. Commander Park Yunji sat in her cabin in the Rocky Mountains, watching the emergency United Nations session on her secure tablet. 5 years into retirement, she had thought her days of military service were over. She had traded her uniform for hiking boots and her command center for a fishing rod. The UN Secretary-General's voice was grim as the vote was called. All in favor of declaring a state of war against the Vrax Imperium. One by one, nations voted. For the first time in human history, the vote was unanimous. Park's secure line buzzed less than 10 minutes after the vote concluded. She picked up, already knowing who it would be. "Commander Park," said the President of the United States, "Earth needs you again." Park closed her eyes briefly. She thought of her quiet life here in the mountains, the peace she had found after 30 years of military service, the nightmares from previous wars that had only recently stopped. "Madam President," she answered, "I'll be ready within the hour." While she packed her few essentials, Park watched the Vrax mothership on her tablet's live feed. The alien vessel dwarfed the largest human spacecraft ever built. Their technology was centuries beyond Earth's. By all logical assessments, humanity couldn't win this fight. But Park knew something the Vrax would soon learn. Humans didn't always fight logically. Her phone buzzed again. Her transport had arrived. Outside, a military helicopter waited in the clearing, rotors spinning against the mountain air. Captain Hand saluted as she approached. "Commander Park, it's an honor. We're to take you directly to the new Combined Defense Headquarters." "Where is that located?" Park asked, climbing aboard. "Underground, ma'am." very deep underground. As the helicopter lifted off, Park took one last look at her cabin. She might never see it again. The peaceful life she had built might be over forever. They flew east, over forests and plains, cities and lakes. Below, Park could see people going about their lives, most still unaware that Earth was now at war. Captain Han handed her a secure tablet. Initial reports, ma'am. The Vraks have positioned 5 more warships in orbit. Our analysts believe they're preparing for a large-scale attack. Park studied the images. The Vrak ships formed a precise pentagon above Earth. Textbook military positioning from a species that clearly valued order. That could be used against them. Captain, what's our current military readiness? All nations have activated their forces, ma'am. Space Command has moved our defensive satellites into position, for whatever good they'll do. The problem is, we have nothing that can touch their ships. Park looked up at the sky, now darkening as evening approached. Somewhere up there, the Vraks were preparing to teach humanity a lesson. We need to think differently, she said quietly. They expect us to fight like them. Direct, conventional. We won't. The helicopter began its descent toward what looked like an ordinary military base. But Park knew better. Below the visible buildings lay the new heart of Earth's defense. As they landed, Park saw a group of officers waiting. Military leaders from around the world, brought together by humanity's first alien threat. What's our first move, Commander? Captain Han asked as they touched down. Park's eyes hardened with determination. First, we let them think they've won. Then we show them how humans really fight. Admiral Ta stood on the command deck of the Vrak's mothership, his 4 arms clasped behind his back. 3 days had passed since the Mars demonstration. The humans had not responded to any communications. Status report, Tai ordered. His second-in-command, Captain Rowe, approached with a data tablet. No official surrender has been received, Admiral. Human media channels indicate widespread panic as expected. Tai's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Their assessment period has ended. Prepare the orbital bombardment sequence. Target their military installations first. Yes, Admiral. And the civilian population centers. Those will follow. The humans need to understand resistances. An alarm blared across the command deck. Red lights flashed as officers rushed to their stations. Report, Ta demanded. Multiple explosions across our defensive perimeter, Captain Rowe answered, her compound eyes scanning the incoming data. 4 patrol ships damaged, 2 destroyed. Show me, Tai ordered. The main screen activated, showing the debris of a Vrak's patrol ship. In the background, what appeared to be an ordinary human transport vessel moved away from the blast zone. Impossible. Ta chittered to Captain Rowe. Their military capability was measured at barely interplanetary level. The vessels don't match any known human military design, Rowe said. They appear to be civilian cargo ships. Civilian. Ta's mandibles clicked rapidly in disbelief. Scan them. Scans show minimal power signatures. Admiral, no weapons systems detected, yet the explosions originated from them. Tai studied the screen more carefully. These humans are more deceptive than we anticipated. Far below, in a converted missile silo deep under the Rocky Mountains, Commander Park watched the same scene unfold on her monitors. Around her, dozens of officers monitored the progress of Project Hydra. Phase 1 successful, reported Major Ba. 6 Vrak ships neutralized. No human casualties. The control room erupted in cheers. Their first victory against an enemy with vastly superior technology. Park allowed herself a small smile. Prepare Phase 2. Launch the second wave immediately, before they adapt their scanning protocols. Yes, Commander. Project Hydra was beautifully simple. Standard shipping containers, the kind used on cargo ships around the world, had been converted into weapons platforms. Each contained a small fusion bomb and minimal guidance systems. Their power signatures were so low that Vrak scanners, calibrated to detect military-grade weapons, missed them entirely. The containers were carried by civilian spacecraft, mining vessels, transport ships, even private yachts, crewed by volunteers willing to risk everything to defend Earth. They approached Vrak's vessels under the guise of normal space traffic, then released their deadly cargo. In her office adjoining the control center, Park reviewed the next phase of the operation with her senior staff. The Vraks expected us to either surrender or attempt a conventional military response, she explained. They never considered we might adapt commercial technology for warfare. Colonel Jin nodded. Their arrogance is their weakness. They dismissed us as primitive without truly studying how humans fight. How long before they adapt? Park asked. Hard to say, Jin replied. Their military doctrine seems rigid, hierarchical. Decision-making appears centralized. That gives us time. A young lieutenant entered with a message. Commander Park, Dr. Lee requests your presence in Laboratory 7. He says it's urgent. 20 levels below the command center, Dr. Lee hunched over a workstation surrounded by recovered Vrax technology. The lab team had managed to salvage components from debris after the Mars attack. When Park entered, Dr. Lee looked up with excitement in his eyes. Commander, we've made a breakthrough. He led her to a table where a strange device pulsed with a soft blue light. This is part of their communication system. It uses quantum entanglement principles, far more advanced than anything we have. Can we jam it? Park asked. Better. Lee smiled. We can listen in, maybe even talk back. He pointed to a screen showing strange symbols. Their quantum entanglement network has a fundamental flaw. They never considered someone might listen in. Explain, Park said, leaning closer. The Vraks use quantum pairs to communicate instantly across vast distances, Lee said. It's incredibly advanced technology. But they made one critical mistake. They didn't encrypt the entanglement signatures themselves. Because they thought the technology was beyond us, Park realized. Exactly. It's like they built the most sophisticated phone in the galaxy, but didn't password protect it. Lee typed something and more alien text appeared. We're already intercepting their fleet communications. With a little more time, we can understand what they're saying. Park placed a hand on Lee's shoulder. How soon can you build a system that lets us send false communications? Lee's eyes widened. You want to feed them misinformation. The Vraks value order and hierarchy, Park said. Let's see what happens when we introduce a little chaos into their command structure. Back on the Vraks mothership, Admiral Tai faced an increasingly frustrated council. The holographic projections of 5 Vraks elders hovered before him. The humans were supposed to surrender immediately, said Elder Kang, her mandibles clicking in irritation. Instead, they've destroyed 8 patrol vessels using methods we cannot detect. These are merely delaying tactics, Tai assured them. Their primitive technology cannot stand against the full might of our fleet. Then why have you not crushed them already? Demanded Elder Min. Before Tai could answer, Captain Rowe approached urgently. Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity in our communication network, and our scanners show more civilian vessels approaching. Tai turned back to the council. I request permission to deploy our main battle fleet. Elder Kang nodded. Granted. End this quickly, Admiral. The humans have proven more resourceful than expected. Do not underestimate them again. As the council transmission ended, Todd didn't see the small smile on Commander Park's face as she listened to every word through Dr. Lee's improvised quantum receiver. The war had only just begun. Phantom Fleet 7, acknowledge, came the transmission from Vraks Command. The Vraks communications officer waited for a response, his mandibles clicking nervously. The massive display showed 7 Earth warships approaching the Vraks mining outpost on Titan. Phantom Fleet 7, this is Vraks Command. Respond immediately or be destroyed. Still no response. In the command center, Admiral Todd watched with growing frustration. Launch interceptors. Destroy those vessels. 20 Vraks fighters departed the command ship, weapons charge. They approached the Earth fleet at attack speed. ready to obliterate the human ships. But when they arrived at the target coordinates, they found nothing. "Sir," the sensor operator reported, confusion in his voice, "there are no vessels here." "Impossible." Ta slammed one of his forearms against the console. The sensors showed 7 ships. The truth was simpler and more frustrating. Fleet 7 didn't exist. In an underground facility on Earth, Lieutenant Choi smiled as she monitored the Vrak's response to her holographic projection. "They took the bait," she reported to Commander Park. 20 fighters diverted to Titan." Park nodded. "Excellent. Launch the next Phantom fleet near Jupiter. Keep them chasing shadows." For 3 weeks, Choi's team had been creating sophisticated holographic projections of Earth warships. The images were perfect. They generated heat signatures, reflected light, and even responded to Vrak's scanning technology. But they were just light and energy, ghosts in the darkness of space. Each time the Vraks detected a new Phantom fleet, they diverted real ships to intercept the non-existent threat. Their forces were becoming increasingly scattered across the solar system. "Phase 3 is ready," Major Bai reported to Park. "The Dominance is in position." Park studied the tactical display. The Vrak's battle cruiser Dominance was one of their most powerful warships. It had destroyed 3 real Earth vessels last week. Now it patrolled the asteroid belt, hunting for human ships. "Launch the bait," she ordered. A small Earth shuttle emerged from hiding on a large asteroid. It moved slowly, appearing damaged, leaking radiation that would be easily detected by Vrak sensors. As predicted, the Dominance changed course immediately to pursue the seemingly easy target. "They're following," Bay reported. "Estimated interception in 4 minutes." Park watched the display intently. This operation, codenamed Thermopylae Gambit, was her most daring yet. It targeted not just any Vrak ship, but one of their fleet commanders. "The shuttle is entering the field now," Bai announced. On the view screen, the small Earth vessel navigated into a dense cluster of asteroids. The massive Vrak ship followed, its weapons ready to fire. "Activate the mines," Park ordered. Throughout the asteroid field, hundreds of small devices suddenly powered up. Fusion mines, each with enough explosive power to damage even a Vrak's battle cruiser, had been carefully positioned across the asteroid field weeks earlier. Aboard the Dominance, the Vrak's commander realized the trap too late. "Pull back," he ordered. "It's an ambush." But the massive ship couldn't turn quickly enough in the confined space. The first mine detonated against its hull, followed by a second, then a dozen more. In Earth's command center, the staff watched as explosions rippled across the Dominance. The mighty warship listed to one side, its engines failing. Secondary explosions bloomed along its hull as internal systems failed. "Direct hit," Bay reported, trying to keep the excitement from his voice. "The Dominance is crippled." The damaged Earth shuttle, actually an unmanned drone, slipped away during the confusion. Park allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The Thermopylae Gambit had worked perfectly. One of the Vrak's most powerful warships was now drifting, severely damaged, in the asteroid belt. Later that day, aboard the Vrak's mothership, Admiral Ta stood before the holographic projection of the Imperium Council. The 7-member council, including Emperor Sun himself, waited for Ta's explanation. "The humans fight without honor," Admiral Ta complained, his mandibles clicking in agitation. "They strike and vanish. They don't follow battle protocols." The council members exchanged glances. Emperor Sun leaned forward, his massive form dominating the projection. "They weren't supposed to fight at all," replied the Vrak's emperor, his voice rumbling with displeasure. "Find their leader." "We are trying, Your Eminence," Ta said. "But they use deception at every turn. Holographic fleets that don't exist, civilian ships converted to weapons platforms, traps within asteroid fields." "Your excuses are not acceptable," Emperor Sun stated coldly. "The Dominance was one of our finest warships. Its destruction by a primitive species is an embarrassment to the Imperium." We have identified their likely command structure, Tai offered quickly. A human female named Park appears to be coordinating their resistance. Our intelligence suggests she is a retired military commander with significant experience. Bring me this Park, Emperor's son demanded. Dead or alive. The humans must learn that resistance against the Imperium always fails. It will be done, Your Eminence. As the transmission ended, Ta summoned his intelligence chief. Assemble our best infiltration team, he ordered. Find Commander Park. Use any means necessary. Back on Earth, Park received a disturbing report from Dr. Lee's communications team. Commander, we've intercepted Vrak's transmissions, Lee said, handing her a data tablet. They're specifically targeting you now. They've dispatched assassination teams. Park studied the report calmly. Increase security protocols, but don't change our operations. It's too dangerous, Lee protested. You should relocate to a more secure facility. Park shook her head. If they're focusing on me, it means our strategy is working. The Vraks operate on a strict hierarchy. They believe if they remove the leader, the resistance will crumble. That's not how humans work, Lee said. Exactly. Park smiled slightly. And that's another advantage they don't understand. She turned to the tactical display, where 3 more Phantom fleets were drawing Vrak's forces away from Earth's actual defense systems. The art of war is the art of deception, Park said quietly. We can't match their technology or firepower, but we can outsmart them. Outside the command center, humanity continued preparing for what would likely be the decisive confrontation. Earth had won several battles, but the war was far from over. Commander Park studied the holographic map of Jupiter's moon Europa. The small, ice-covered moon was home to a critical Vrax communications relay. According to intelligence gathered by Dr. Lee's team, this relay connected the Vrax fleet in the solar system to their home empire. The mission is too dangerous, Colonel Jin argued. We can send an automated drone instead. Park shook her head. The approach needs to be perfect. The timing exact. I need to be there. You're our commander, Jin insisted. We can't risk losing you. That's exactly why it has to be me, Park replied calmly. If I'm captured, the Vraks will focus on me. They'll think they've won. The plan was simple but dangerous. Park would lead a small team to infiltrate the communications hub, plant a specialized virus developed by Dr. Lee, then escape before the Vraks realized what had happened. The virus, codenamed Blackout, was designed to spread through the Vraks' quantum entanglement network, temporarily disabling their communications. When activated, it would leave the Vraks fleet blind and confused for approximately 6 hours. If we're successful, Park told her senior staff, we'll have a 6-hour window to launch our main counteroffensive. The shuttle departed Earth under cover of darkness. It was small, stealthy, with minimal systems to avoid detection. Park and her team of 4 specialists wore experimental suits designed to mask their heat signatures from Vrak sensors. They approached Europa from behind Jupiter, using the giant planet's radiation belt to hide their approach. The landing was smooth, the shuttle touching down 3 kilometers from the Vrak's facility. Remember, Park told her team as they prepared to move out, if anything goes wrong, your priority is completing the mission, not rescuing me. The trek across Europa's ice-covered surface was slow and careful. Vrak's patrols moved in predictable patterns, allowing the humans to slip between them. They reached the facility's external access point right on schedule. Security systems bypassed, whispered Lieutenant Yoon, the team's technology expert. We have 4 minutes before the next automated scan. They entered the facility through a maintenance tunnel. The alien architecture was disorienting, built for beings with different proportions and needs. They navigated according to the schematics Dr. Lee had extracted from captured Vraks data. The central communications hub was lightly guarded. The Vraks never expected anyone to reach Europa, let alone infiltrate their facility. Plant the device, Park ordered. I'll keep watch. Lieutenant Yoon carefully attached Dr. Lee's virus delivery system to the main quantum entanglement processor. It began uploading immediately, a progress bar slowly filling on his tablet. 70% complete, he reported. That's when everything went wrong. The alarm sounded without warning. Red lights flashed throughout the facility. A mechanical voice spoke in the Vrax language, undoubtedly announcing intruders. "We've been detected," Park said. "Lieutenant, time to completion." 3 more minutes, Yoon replied, working frantically. "The rest of you, fall back to the shuttle," Park ordered. "Prepare for emergency departure." "Commander, we can't leave you," Sergeant Cho protested. "That's an order," Park said firmly. "I'll cover Lieutenant Yoon until upload is complete, then follow you out." The team reluctantly departed, heading back the way they had come. Park positioned herself at the entrance to the communications room, weapon ready. The first Vrax soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor. Park fired, forcing them to take cover. She had to buy just a little more time. "Upload complete," Yoon announced. "Virus is in their system, dormant until activated." "Go," Park ordered. "Get that data back to Earth." Yoon hesitated only briefly before running down the secondary corridor they had identified as an escape route. Park continued firing, keeping the Vrax at bay. But more soldiers appeared from another entrance. Park realized she was surrounded. Her mission was accomplished. The virus was planted. Now she needed to ensure the Vrax didn't realize what had happened. She deleted the mission data from her neural implant, a small device connected to her central nervous system that stored critical information. Then she surrendered. The Vrax took her to a detention cell aboard their command ship. She sat calmly, mentally preparing for what would come next. Hours passed before the cell door finally opened. Admiral Tai himself entered, flanked by guards. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation or perhaps excitement. "Commander Park," he said, his voice a deep rumble. "At last we meet." Park said nothing, studying the alien leader. He was larger than the other Vrax she had seen, his exoskeleton darker and more heavily armored. "Your capture will end this pointless resistance," Ta continued. "Your forces will surrender now that their leader is taken." Park smiled slightly. "That's not how humans work, Admiral." The interrogation room was cold and stark. Park sat restrained in a chair designed for Vrax anatomy, making it extremely uncomfortable for a human. Admiral Tai paced around her, all 4 of his arms clasped behind his back. "How does a primitive species resist the might of the Vrax Imperium?" he demanded, leaning close to her face. His alien breath smelled like copper and ozone. Park smiled thinly. "We've been practicing war against ourselves for thousands of years. You declared war thinking you understood what that meant. You didn't." "Explain," Ta demanded. "Human history is a history of conflict," Park said. "We've fought over land, resources, ideologies, religions. We've developed countless strategies, countermeasures, deceptions. Your species conquers. Mine endures." Tay's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Your philosophical posturing means nothing. Tell me about your defense systems, your command structure." "Why would I tell you anything?" Park asked. "Because I can cause you great pain," Tay replied simply. Park laughed. "Another thing you don't understand about humans. Pain doesn't always make us talk. Sometimes it makes us more determined." Meanwhile, back on Earth, Lieutenant Yoon had returned with confirmation that the virus was successfully planted. Dr. Lee prepared to activate Operation Blackout. The virus will spread through their entire network in approximately 30 seconds once activated, he explained to Acting Commander Kang, who had taken charge in Park's absence. "And Commander Park?" Kang asked. "We've received confirmation she was captured," Lee replied grimly. But her neural tracker. Park's response was measured and philosophical. "War has been humanity's greatest and most terrible teacher," he said. "We had hoped to leave conflict behind as we reached for the stars. Instead, we discovered that conflict was waiting for us. The treaty being signed was more than just a document. It represented a radical departure from Vrak's historical practices. For the first time, they were recognizing another species as a true equal, a concept previously unthinkable in their expansionist culture. What surprised everyone even more was the unexpected development following the conflict. 5 species previously conquered by the Vraks were now inspired by humanity's successful resistance. They began to see a path to their own liberation, watching how humans had stood firm against an overwhelming force. As the final signatures were placed on the treaty documents, the Vraks leader made a profound observation. His mandibles clicked, a gesture humans would later understand as a sign of deep respect and admiration. "We have declared war 1,000 times," he said. "But humans showed us the true meaning of war, and more importantly, why it must be avoided." The moment captured something more than a military resolution. It represented a fundamental shift in understanding between different intelligent species. Humanity had not just survived. They had transformed the very concept of interstellar conflict. In that sterile, orbiting space station, a new chapter of galactic relations was being written, not with weapons, but with mutual respect, understanding, and a shared recognition of the devastating cost of war.